Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show. And good morning to you.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Am I okay?
Beautifully.
Good.
So we're recording already. I like to plunge straight into it just to keep the guests on their toes.
Oh yeah, that's fine. I'm okay. I'm good.
Now, this is Sarah Newton. So Sarah, I've got strict instructions from She Who Must Be Obeyed to keep this under an hour. So you've got 3 minutes to tell us who you are and how you know us and all that stuff. And tell them about the fact that you nearly weren't here this morning because you were nearly about to be on the telly, weren't you?
I was nearly about to be on the telly. So who am I? I'm Sarah Newton. I've been working with young people for 26 years now, running my own business for 16. And I guess that's how I know you guys so long, because we're the old timers now. We've been around for ever and ever. And yeah, I nearly wasn't here this morning, twice actually, because just as I was about to come on, someone said, "Can you do an interview at 10:20?" I'm like, no, I can't do an interview at 10:20. Yeah, nearly on this morning, which I'll tell you probably about a little bit later. Yeah, been on Loose Women, done some really awesome things. But generally, I just love young people and working with them, Nicola. I guess that's about 3 minutes. I don't know. Might be.
And if anyone wants any major background on Sarah, I have interviewed Sarah on several occasions. So just put in Nicola Cairncross, Sarah Newton, and you'll find a podcast interview or three, because we keep wheeling you out, don't you?
Yeah, I'm an old timer. I'll be in my wheelchair next time. I was like, oh, here's Sarah. She's been around forever.
You're such good value, though. That's the thing. You're always passionate. You're always upbeat on your energy, and I'm dying to hear all about why this sudden. Well, I mean, you're always on the telly. You've been on the telly. You did a whole series on the telly. So that was, what was that called? Help My Teens a Nightmare, Get Me Out of Here, or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that's a mixture of them. I think Help My Teen. Oh God, what was it called? My Teens a Nightmare. Oh, Get Me Out of Here, or something like that. Yeah, but I think I was like on Teenagers from Hell, and there was a few other things as well. Yeah, it was very interesting career trajectory I think I had.
And how did you start all this? I mean, I'll give you another couple of minutes, right? How did you start all this? How did you start doing what you're doing? What did you do before, very briefly, and how did you turn into such a major star?
Yeah, God, that's interesting. I always say to people, my first job ever was at Disney World in Florida, and my last job was in the police, and as a police officer. And I think that describes me quite well. There's like this jolly sort of, Buzz Lightyear kind of character mixed with Horatio Caine, I guess. I'm a bit of an oddity. The reason that I started out by myself was I was working in the police with young offenders and people at risk of offending, and one of the offenders that I was working with took his life. And at the time it had quite a big impact on me, and I was sort of thinking what we're doing isn't working, so I started doing something else and it started working. But being the police, they said no, you've got to use the ticky boxy thing, and I couldn't do it anymore, so I just left and decided to just try and figure out the answer, because it felt like it was like a deep calling within me.
Yeah.
And sort of came across coaching and messed around with coaching for a few years. And then someone came up to me one day and said, "Do you know anyone who coaches young people?" And without thinking, I said, "Yeah, I do." And I thought, oh my God, what have I just said?
The classic Ransom move, isn't it? If someone asks you if you can do something, say yes and figure it out afterwards.
Yeah, and figure it out afterwards. And then as I started to sort of, be with that, I remembered, all of the reasons that I'd gone into the police, and, and all the reasons that I'd done this in the first place, my love for young people, that I remember from even 9 years old, actually. And so I sort of hung my, flag out saying I coach young people. And this was 16 years ago now. Yeah. And no one, had any idea. This was when coaching was new, let alone, coaching a parent, coaching a young person. And I think that I was so sort of, it was so forward, it was so innovative at the time that it just got loads of attention.
Yeah.
And so I guess I was the right person in the right place. There was a lot of luck involved. And I think a lot of it, is down to my personality as well. But I never, ever really courted the media. I mean, the only thing I ever did was send a book, which wasn't even my book. It was the book of the lady who trained me, to the Trisha show and a few other people. And the way I got the first TV gig is the sound man had picked up the book and I think I'd stapled my card in it or something. And they were looking for someone who did something like me. And he said, oh, hold on, there's a book somewhere this girl sent in. And that was how I got the first ever TV gig, from a sound man who'd seen this book.
What a brilliant thing. I mean, if your card hadn't been stapled in there, then it might have dropped out. Oh my God, the synchronicity of and the
exactly.
Oh, it's just astonishing, isn't it?
Yeah, and the more and when I was in the police, I'd done a little bit of media work. If there was ever anything that they wanted the media to do, they'd sort of wheel me out, because it never fazed me, and so I was sort of a little bit used to it. And then the more I started doing it, the more I realised actually I kind of liked the game. I liked the stress, I liked the adrenaline. It was like being back in the police a little bit. It's certainly not for the faint-hearted, I feel.
Yeah, so you started getting some exposure. Did you have any books or anything of your own at this stage?
No, I didn't. I had nothing, and I think there was about 3 or 4 TV series before the actual book came around, which came from My Teens a Nightmare, I'm Moving Out. While we were, because by that time, so I'd gone through having about 3 or 4 TV series before I thought, this is a bit serious, maybe I should try and get an agent. So I thought, I'll go and see if I can get Jamie Oliver's agent. I was so naive at the time.
And start at the top, why not?
Yeah, start at the top. And actually, and I ended up with the agent that Jamie Oliver had. And then I got the big TV, gig, the one that was my series. It went around the world and everything. And out of that came the book deal. So while we were doing that, the book deal with Penguin was being tied up as well. So that sort of all happened. And then I kind of crashed and burned a little bit, because the TV series was very hard.
Yeah.
It was just not a great experience. And after I came out of that, I was just like, I need a break. I need a rest here.
We talked about, if anyone's interested, we talked about that quite a lot in the podcast interview I did with you, didn't we? About that whole TV thing, because everyone thinks it's so glamorous, but you were actually going living in people's homes, weren't you?
Oh, it was horrible. It wasn't glamorous at all. And so then I took some time off, and then I came back, and I've just started to ramp it all up again. Actually, I feel like I'm back to feeling about it as I was, because I think when we're working by ourselves and dealing with difficult things that other people haven't dealt with or are not talking about, we can get sidetracked and get down so easily. And I think this is something that isn't spoken about a lot in this field at all.
Yeah.
How demoralizing it can.
Yeah. And that applies to any entrepreneur, I think, anyone working from home at all. So just to bring us very quickly up to date, conscious of time, I think it's important before we start talking about stuff, what everyone knows what you do. So we've got young people. I've called Sarah on any occasion. Not that many, to be fair. I mean, my two have been absolute angels largely, but I have had my moments with them when I've spoken to you about it. And and you've got young people yourself. So where are you at now, Sarah? What would you describe yourself as? And I know things are really. I've seen you on telly. I saw you on Loose Women. I saw your gorgeous daughter on Loose Women as well in the audience. So tell us what just give us a broad brush stroke look at what you're doing now.
What do I call myself? That's interesting, and I'm still dealing with that. Some people, I spent all of yesterday being called a teenologist, but I would sort of call myself an author and a speaker and probably a dragon slayer or something like that. I don't know. What I'm doing now is really trying to spread the message more about how I feel about young people, and the fact that I think every young person should think they're okay no matter what, and we should stop doing what we're doing. So I'm trying to take that up to a bigger stage and do a lot more speaking, a lot more media. I've written my first novel with my 19-year-old daughter. I adore writing novels because I think you can affect more young people with stories. So I'm So it's really interesting because I'm sort of doing much bigger stuff. I mean, at the moment, I'm doing a whole project around apprenticeships with an apprenticeship company that do hospitality apprenticeships, because that's where I started off my life. So I'm doing less and less coaching. I mean, I do still work with young people. I do still work with parents. I still do go into few schools, but most of my work now is coming through the media, or speaking, or books, which I'm quite happy about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel more and more passionate about them as young people as well, because as my two have grown up, we've always had open house here. I've always wanted to be that house where anyone could go in times of trouble, or if they need feeding, or if they run away from home, they know there's somewhere safe to go, because I had such a troubled childhood and I didn't have anywhere like that. So I've always made it very plain to my two that nobody has nowhere to sleep on my watch. Nobody has nothing to eat on my watch. Nobody has, nobody's so drunk or so off it on anything that they haven't got somewhere to go. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've become even more passionate about them, because I've watched them all. They're all 18 to 21 now, and I've watched them all. Some of them grow up and be brilliant academics and going off to college, and some of them, one of them's got a cheerleading. She's got a sports. What's it called? A sports placement at a university. But cheerleading, which is amazing. And
wow. That's the job I want.
Yeah, and then there's some. My two are not academic, but they're really getting focused on music and YouTube and Instagram marketing now. Suddenly they've realised what mummy's doing in the corner of the dining room all day.
Yeah.
So it's just been an absolutely fascinating thing, and to watch these young people who are largely, luckily, untouched. I mean, I don't, obviously we live in an affluent area, so the kind of kids I'm exposed to have had great upbringings, but. Yeah, I can totally see where you could become completely wrapped up in trying to give them the best start in life and give them the best tools for life and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's
nothing like it.
There isn't anything like it, and they're like blank canvases to some degree, aren't they? You can, my two have been indoctrinated. I've said many times, we stop in the middle of Tesco's even if we are by the freezer cabinet, if I hear them saying anything limiting or negative.
What did you just, yeah.
It's Mummy's Life Lesson 1075.
Yeah, it's great. And I think, having coaching tools and having the world that we have is just such an amazing place, I think, to bring up children.
Yeah, it is. So anyway, that's it now. We've done the non-interview.
I take a bow now, I think. Yeah.
So tell us one thing about your week, which can include a mini rant of the week, if you like.
I just feel like I need to rant about the media a little bit here. Because they, often I have this huge sort of love-hate relationship with the media. And I think this rant is a little bit bigger than the media. I think it's about people that have jobs, right, that then come to us who don't have jobs and expect us to just do everything at the last minute. For them. So, if I use the example of yesterday. So this morning, phone up yesterday going, we need you on. Can you drop everything and move everything? So we move everything around, for them, thinking, okay. And this is not the first time it's happened. It's happened a couple of other times as well. And then you hear nothing from them until about 4 p.m. in the, later on, when they go, oh no, we've squeezed that topic out and we've put something else in its place. No, sorry, for all of the inconvenience. And then I looked this morning and they haven't. They've just put someone else in my place.
No.
So they've taken the idea that I gave them and put someone else in my place. And I think, please, if you have a job, consider those of us that don't have jobs. And when we're moving things around, often we're moving things that are money earning around. Then to not apologise and then to lie, it infuriates me. And for any, and I think it isn't just the media. I think, companies will do this. It's like they don't understand what it's like for us when we are there juggling everything by ourselves. And we're doing all we can, bending over backwards, and then they're not apologising and not telling us the truth. And I don't know, that really pees me off, Nicola.
Yeah, well, anyone not telling me the truth pees me off, but yeah, I can see what you mean. And I do remember back to my corporate days when I worked at Sony Music. It was all about the power was always with the corporate, and the artist, the manager, the promoter, all the people who were trying to make a career work or a living work. They were in exactly the same position. If so who's got the power, isn't it? Who's got what the other person wants more?
Yeah, absolutely. And I always remember once them phoning me and asking me to come on the next day, and there was something I just couldn't move because it had been booked for ages, and it was a whole day with a client. And when I said no, it was the tone of voice, from them on the other side. I was like, okay, that's it. They're not going to call me for another 18 months.
Yeah. Well, go on.
Yeah. So I was just going to say, I'm waiting for the day when actually as entrepreneurs have the power, and I'm not sure it's that far away, actually.
Well, I don't know. I think it's always going to be, we always know that getting on television exposes us to a vast number of people. I mean, I remember the day when I got a phone call from someone, Steve. It was when I was at the hotel and I was taking the kids to school or bringing them back or something, and it was mayhem. And he shouted down the stairs, "CBeebies are on the phone for you." And I was like, "What?" And he said, yeah, CBeebies, television. I said, television's on the phone. I said, I can't. And then it turned out to be CNN, breakfast news.
Oh.
And they wanted me the next morning, and they were going to send a car from London to Worthing and pick me up from the hotel at 5 o'clock in the morning so that I could be there for 7 o'clock. So that was very cool. They were sending a car. Had to scramble around getting the kids sorted out and get them off to their dad, so I didn't have any issue with that. And then I was home again by 9:30 thinking I've just been on CNN Breakfast News. And I was expecting a flood of emails, especially once I found out it wasn't just, UK or Europe, it's global. And I think I got 3 emails from various people, including my dad, who'd seen it in New Zealand. It was just, it's just a nonsense. Nothing happened. You think on the television is going to move the needle dramatically, and sometimes it does, I'm sure, but it just didn't on that occasion. And I turned my whole life upside down for it.
Exactly. It's radio, actually, that tends to be the one you get more response from, actually. TV
not Radio Sussex stuff, no. It doesn't work.
Yeah, well, not radio, but I remember once, really early on, being on Woman's Hour.
Oh, yeah.
And it was very early on, and oh my goodness, when I got back, I was not prepared. I had like 150 emails of people wanting to talk to me.
Okay.
And I remember thinking, okay, I wasn't prepared for this, and I just couldn't capitalize on it because there was so much. So I've learned a valuable lesson that day too. But I think that, I sit there and I think, oh, why are we, reaching after the media when actually we can do this ourselves now? We've got the technology, the kids are doing it. Maybe it's a mindset shift that we have to make. Because Zoella's reaching more people than This Morning.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I sit there and think, maybe this is a mindset shift in us as a generation.
Yeah.
Actually, we don't necessarily need the media. We can do it ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the complete opposite has happened to my end. It's all gone quiet down here. I don't actually believe in this whole August thing. Gary Vaynerchuk did a fantastic August video recently, which was like, basically, when everyone else is taking the time off, this is your time to crush it. You can really get some action in. And I don't feel any different. Although, suddenly on the streets of Shoreham, there are more parking spaces, and it just feels different this week than it did last week. And I think that's, it's the last 2 weeks of August. I think a lot of people go on holiday. I mean, where all these people go and how those places fit them in when they just go en masse from somewhere like Shoreham, I've got no idea. But very quiet. So I've been, using it to do quite a lot of thinking about my business, and that's been quite pleasant. Yeah.
So I intended to do that in August, I can tell you, but actually I've had I've earned more money this August than I've ever earned. I think it's like, what's going on? Very strange. Are
you going to tell us about what's fueling all this in another section, or should I be asking about that now? Are you going to be telling us what's?
I'll tell you. Yeah, I can tell you in another section.
Okay,
it's fine.
Let's move on then to what's fueled your fire this week.
I want to go to yesterday, actually, because yesterday I had a great day. I got to sit in a radio station and talk to lots of different radio places about apprenticeships, but there was an apprentice there and she was like 22, and she'd left home, I think, at about 14, and been put into foster care, and had got pregnant at 15, had done no exams, and was, had I think and she was 22. I think her kid was about 6 or 7 or something, and instead of sitting at home and taking benefit, as she quite easily could, she's decided to become a role model for her kid, and go out and get this apprenticeship. And it's times like that, when I see people like that, that I remember why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And I start looking at this girl and thinking, oh my goodness, just your story needs to be told to more young people, because she was just such an inspiration. And it's when I see kids like that I just get really fueled to carry on when it gets really, really difficult. And it does get difficult. But I always remember, this is why I'm doing it. When I'm sat in a radio station talking to one radio place after another, it's very hard and very tiring. But I'm doing it because there might be that one girl like that girl out there listening.
Absolutely. Do you know? You don't know Jamal Edwards, do you?
I have, I vaguely. I think, I vaguely sort of know him. I don't know him personally.
He's on Snapchat. Follow him on Snapchat. If you're on Snapchat, aren't you?
Yeah,
you are. Follow him on Snapchat. He's a young chap, and he has got to be one of the most inspirational young people I've come across in a long time. And he's built this empire on YouTube, and he's now got a place in East London. They have cookouts. He's got OBE, something like that. He's been awarded already. He's only young, but I just think there is a real, hearing about your young lady, there is definitely a book or a video interview series or something that someone should do, interviewing young people that have done amazing things like that, because my daughter and son would absolutely love that. They'd love to watch stuff like that. And I'm just throwing something on your to-do list.
I think it's like the everyday people, the people that we don't hear about, the ones that are struggling every day. And I always remember in one of Malcolm Gladwell's books, David and Goliath. Have you read that one?
No, I haven't.
Oh, I love it. And he talks about something called the desirable difficulty, and how actually that most successful people, really successful people, have got what he calls a desirable difficulty. So something they've had to get past, something that they've had to, really, really deal with to get to be the best. And so it's like when a kid comes to me and says, oh, I've got this, I'll go, great, you've got a desirable difficulty.
Oh, that's great. I love that. No, there's one I haven't read, actually, one of his, I think.
Yeah. Cool. It's really, really good. Yeah, desirable difficulty, and she was just working, not really in a massive scheme of things, looking like she was anything inspirational, but her story was just incredible. And those stories, I think you're right. I think they need to be told. The average Joes that are actually doing it and haven't made it big, but that every day they are getting up and doing stuff despite it being difficult.
Yeah, that's awesome. So just to continue the theme, video is my thing. I mean, I can't believe I have ignored YouTube for years. I'm just so cross with myself. I just can't believe it. What's happened is I've got into Facebook Live because I love the whole spontaneity of it. And I know you've been able to do it on YouTube. I have had a YouTube channel. It's been very pathetic. Really, there's no other word for it. It's pathetic. And I have, done things like turn the Business Success Factory podcast into videos and get it on there on their own channel. But I've totally ignored it until this bloke called John Penberthy came along. And I met him on the cruise, and he's a really engaging Brit. And I'm not saying that's made me pay more attention to him or anything, but it's just how some people impinge on your consciousness, and then they keep cropping up, and suddenly you can't ignore them anymore. And he's like that. So we bought his course, which was only about $300 or $400. It wasn't much, but I bought it principally for Phoebe, to be honest, because she's doing a lot of YouTube video at the moment. But what he reminded me is that Facebook Live is great. It's a great platform. Facebook is spreading your videos. So while you're actually on Facebook Live, they're showing your video to lots of people. There's that big map where people can see what's going on and who's live at the moment and all that stuff. But it is ephemeral to some degree, although it does stay on your page. So it's creating content that stays on your page. But what John has made me aware is that you can actually download from your Facebook Live video, and you can upload to YouTube. And the two big benefits of YouTube are, one is it's owned by Google, so they treat it like a part of the search engine. And the other thing is it's there forever. So, I went and had a look at some of my old videos, and some of them had like 38,000 views. It's ridiculous. And there's one of me walking to work when I was living in Greece, and I'm not joking, it's about 6 or 7 minutes long. There is nobody else around in this village because it's in February or March, and it's had something like 8,000 views, and I just cannot believe that I've been ignoring it for all this time. So what I'm doing now is I'm doing Facebook Live videos, and I love the spontaneity of them. I love the fact that I don't have to look that good, which is just as well. And I love the fact that I can do them in the garden, and it's fine. But then I'm taking them and I'm thinking, okay, so what's the main thing I talk about in this video? And so what's the key phrase of the video? And I go and I upload them to YouTube, and I use all the search engine optimization things. And so it's giving my Facebook Live videos a new lease of life, and it's going to make them into a permanent asset that will sit there forever on one of the biggest search engines. It's not just that YouTube is a search engine. I mean, the kids, my son particularly, uses YouTube as if it was Google. He actually does use the search bar like it was Google, and he wants to see a video because he's visual. But the other thing is, if you go and search on Google for a topic, and your video is what is deemed to be one of the most relevant videos, you'll get shown on the front page of Google. So you get so much search traffic that you would never have had otherwise. So that's fueling my fire. I just can't get enough videos out quick enough, really, to get going with this.
They are the future, aren't they? And it's so funny because YouTube's always been one of the things in my sort of in the background. And I remember, when Freya was about, 10, I was trying to prove a point that actually a child could sell skincare better than an adult. Okay. So I got her to do this video. Right, and it's quite hilarious. It's quite long. It's about 8 minutes long, and I put it up on my YouTube channel just to put it up there. This video has now got over 350,000 views.
That's crazy.
I know, it's crazy, and I can't sort of take it down or anything. And I keep getting subscribers from this video, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I feel like totally fake because it's not even my video. But I proved my point that actually I was saying that kids could sell it better than adults. But I love that idea of doing something once and then repurposing it, because I've been thinking, how do I bring YouTube back in? Because I know it's great.
Well, look at all your content and think, how can I turn this into a video? And then think, what is this about? And what you're looking for is a 3, 4, or 5 word phrase. So this is where remember the old Google keyword planner back in the day? Well, that's where you go to put that in, and if you can find a 3, 4, or 5 word phrase that's relevant to the main content of your video, that is the phrase that should be in the title, the first paragraph of the video, the last paragraph of the video, and the tags of the video. And if you just do those 4 things, a bit like writing a blog post, that's what you need to do for a blog post as well. Do that 4 things. In fact, if you went back and optimized that video of sorry, which daughter was it? It wasn't Bryony, was it?
It's Freya. It was Freya.
Yeah. Then if you'll probably see a massive jump in your views.
It was crazy. I was like, every time I don't try and do anything, it works.
I know. Tell me about it. With blog posts, that happens to me all the time. I've got 2 blog posts that bring me the most traffic on my website, and they're not about my core topic, although I have now shifted them around to be more about my core topic.
If you are bored by working for someone else, or tired of trading time for money, or a business owner who's ready to travel and have adventures, then Own It the Summit is for you. We interviewed 18 inspiring entrepreneurs enjoying unique lives. Now you can dip into those lives and decide which of the business models will work for you. Our interviews will show you how to design your dream life beyond the laptop and how to live and work in your favourite ways and places. Our intrepid 18 share the tools and techniques they use to work on the go and what living and working in total freedom really feels like. Find out more at ownitthesummit.com.
Okay, so you're bringing us Client Challenge of the Week then?
I am, and I thought I'd bring my own actually because it's a really interesting one. And probably
Again, you too, eh? You too.
Yeah, well, just because, I was sat there thinking, because obviously my clients, if I said to you, my clients come to me and their kids not pass their A-levels, I wouldn't be great for your listeners. So I thought I'd probably bring one of my own. So the other day, someone came up to me who knows me quite well and said, "Sarah, you infuriate me." Right? And I was like, okay.
Oh, that's nice.
What do you mean by
confrontation away into a conversation?
And they said, you have all of these places that you go in the media, all of these things that you do, and no one really knows about it, and you keep it secret. And it was one of those times that I really sat and thought about, well, hang on a minute, what's going on here? Now, what I know is that it's not about myself not wanting to be in the spotlight. So I haven't got any of those issues, that people think, oh, you're not talking about it because you're embarrassed, or it's none of that. And I was thinking about this yesterday as well, and what I started to figure out is that when you see a lot of people that are in the media a lot, and you go on their Twitter profile and it's a picture of them with Phil and Holly or something like that, for me, that feels very braggy and doesn't feel very helpful to a potential client or the world in general. And that is, I know that's not what I want to do. But actually, I think that I don't talk about the stuff that I do a lot, and I don't do it in a way that's, that helps me. And so I was sat there all of yesterday trying to figure out, while doing all of these radio shows, how do you bring in all of those awesome things that you've done without making it looking like you're bragging, but also be of use? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So have you got an agent still?
I do still have an agent.
Okay,
yeah.
Right. There's a woman that I've worked with called Natasha. Ask me for her details afterwards. She is a media publicist, and she takes someone who is thrust into the media, or someone who is regularly in the media. She's got some very big name clients, well, 2 or 3 big name clients. She used to be a major journalist at a newspaper. And so she's only just started out on her own, and I will pass your details on to her because she does a very good job. And I think even looking at her own website would give you some pointers about how to take those experiences and make them useful for other people while still making people aware that you've had those experiences. When you go to, if I saw you on telly or listen to you on the radio, the first thing I would do is go to Google. And so if I went to Google and searched Sarah Newton, I would presumably find a website called sarah-newton.com.
Yeah, you would. I mean, we are redoing that at the moment, and the way that it will look is much more sort of, it's much more visual and the media stuff's on there a little bit more. So yeah, but it is being redone at the minute. Yeah.
I think you've got to get your head around the fact that it's a bit like the selling thing, right? Selling is an exchange of energy. It's an exchange of money for your effort, time, expertise, blah, 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 blah. And if you don't, people have blocks about selling, but actually if you've got a person with a problem or a pain and you have the solution for that problem or pain, you're doing them a disservice by not selling it to them. And by selling it to them, I mean exchanging your energy for their energy, which is, money, and you've got the solution. So if you can but what you're doing with this media stuff is, it's so interesting because I don't know if you've noticed, but my stuff has suddenly got all my media logos back on it. It's everywhere. I've put it on my my Facebook page. It's on my website. I've got it on the About page because somebody pointed out to me, Nicola, you've done, some people are faking that they've been on these newspapers and television shows, and you actually have.
Oh my God.
So
people fake it, really?
Yeah, they do. Yes, they do. I actually personally know people who fake it. But if you genuinely, and actually you're not allowed to do that, the publication concern can come after you for the illegal use of their logo. But if you have actually been on the shows or been in the newspapers, you are allowed to use it. And if you can point to, the occasion you were there and all that stuff. So I think anyone who has been on a show or been in a newspaper should make people aware of that, because what it does is it gives you this authority, doesn't it? It gives you an instant recognizable authority. You must be good at what you do because you've been featured in these publications. Now, we all know that that's not necessarily true because, whatever. The point is, it's making it easier for someone to trust you and buy from you and buy your solution to their problem or pain.
So I think you should definitely be doing it. And then you can also make life lessons out of the experience. We've just talked about it this morning. It's all about esteem and power and all that stuff. So there's good stories in all of them, isn't there?
Yeah, and what I was thinking yesterday is what would have been really cool yesterday and probably, quite helpful for people is if and I couldn't do it yesterday because it was a bit too manic, but if every time I did something like that, I quickly interviewed like the radio producer and said, how did you get into this? And so there's stuff that's also helpful for young people. So I was thinking, actually, I should be making more of these than just appearing.
Yeah.
Because I think the interesting thing to people is actually, what does it look like backstage? What really happens? What's it like?
Yeah, and I think Snapchat isn't the right platform for that, although you can use it for that. But I think Facebook Live would be an awesome outlet for that. You could just, or even if you don't feel comfortable doing that because you feel like you might want to get permission and all that stuff. But what about just saying, can I just literally ask you 3 questions, and it's for, you need a membership site, Sarah. You so need a membership site where all these little bits and snippets and all the the lessons, you could just share all that into a membership site for young people. It would be awesome.
Yeah, I never thought of that actually.
It could be used for marketing purposes. I get up on your YouTube and share. You leverage everything onto all the platforms. So
and that's what I'm not so great at, I think.
That's a VA job. That is a systems and a VA job. I mean, we did it with Raw. Neil used to write a blog post, and by the time we'd finished with that blog post, it was on every single platform in a way that suited that platform. But that was the starting point. And you've got to think about what's your most natural starting point. And if it's being in the moment like that and saying to the presenter or, the makeup girl even, you can just ask them, film the makeup girl while she's doing your makeup and say, have your stock 3 questions. And you know what you're doing there? You're building up content for another book. Yeah. Because if you started collating all those answers and putting them together, you'd see a common theme running through most of them.
Yeah, and and I sit there and I think, when I'm doing things like it's quite interesting, because most people would think, oh, I'd love to do it, I'd love to know how it works, or really interesting people that I'm working with, and I just turn up and do it and go away, and I think that's not leveraging it enough.
And I think another thing us older people have to go, no offence, is the embarrassment of actually doing it. Whereas actually, everyone's used to someone having a phone up filming now. You're either Snapchatting, you're Facebook living, your Instagram. I mean, Instagram. Are you on Instagram?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think it's easy to confuse yourself with the different platforms. I think it's much easier to pick one platform because now with Instagram, you could do a 1-minute story on video.
Yeah, I got very confused. I'm like, oh my gosh, are you Snapchat or are you Instagram? I don't know.
I definitely think for you, in a situation where you're in a place where people would recognise the people or people would recognise the place, Instagram would go mental for you if you just did 1 minute quick, regular quick 1-minute videos of where you are now and what you're doing. But then I would think with your 3-minute your 3 questions, your little interviews. Facebook Live's the place for that because you can go home and you can then download it and upload it to YouTube.
Yeah,
and it's the easiest platform to use on the hoof, as it were. It really is Facebook Live.
Yes.
To get your head around it.
Yeah.
So I really think you could be exploding it all. But the one thing you need to do is make sure that when people go to Google and type in Sarah Newton, several things come up for you and they're all yours. Instagram, YouTube, a website. You could dominate the front page, and you want to make sure that people can find you. And then when they get to your website, that they can immediately see that you have the solution to their problem, and your media, logos and pictures give them instant reassurance that you are the right person.
Yeah, and this is what I've always loved about you, Nicola. Actually, you're very good at looking at something and saying, how can I leverage it?
Oh, I like leverage because I'm a lazy baggage.
Yeah, and it's something I've definitely never been, massively great at because you're I'm so in the moment that I'm never thinking generally about, oh, how could I leverage it? And I think, oh, these things that I've done that I could have leveraged, but I can start now. It's okay.
Yeah. And you know what? I can give you my VA's contact details because she's really good at working with star creator profiles, which is us. I suspect you're more star than me. I'm more creator, but it doesn't matter. She's used to the battiness of it.
I think I'm more creative, actually. I think I'm a really high creator. Yeah.
Well, I'll give you an example, right? So I realised that I needed to get my social media, because I've had a social media person for a few years, and she's not very well, so she stopped working for me now. And she used to be brilliant at taking what I did doing and leveraging it for me. So I've had to stop and think about this, and I thought, okay, so the first step is to get a bit of paper, and literally on the left-hand side you write Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And across the top, you write, first of all, you write type of content, and then you write the different platforms you've got accounts on. And you think to yourself, okay, on Monday, it's about Facebook Live video. So and then Tuesday, it's an Own It throwback episode. Wednesday, it's a YouTube video. Thursday, it's a client challenge of the week transcription. And Friday, it's an Own It episode. Now, I'm not saying that I create that content on those days. I'm saying that's what gets promoted on those days across the platform. So for a very simple little grid system, you can make sure it's not the same piece of content going out at the same time across all your platforms, which is boring as hell for anyone who follows you on more than one platform. So you have to stagger it, and that's the way to do it. But my VA, I said to her, P, we need to get something on that blog every day, and here is your list of where you can go and pull content from. So I'm not even telling her what content to put on the blog. I'm just saying, go to YouTube, get the embed code, get the description from under the YouTube video, and plonk it on the blog. Go on Tuesdays, go back to a transcription of one of our client challenges of the week. Get it on the blog. Use the same picture that we used on the Own It episode. So I've told her what to do and which days to do it, and I've left it to her. And now every single day there's something unique going on my blog that I've created in the past. Mm-hmm. So that's what you need to do. You need a depository of content that your VA can go and pull from, but she needs a simple schedule to follow, and she should be able to figure it out herself after that. And I looked yesterday. It's happening. There's something going on my blog every day. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Not me doing.
So you focus on one platform each day, almost. Is that what you're saying? Or?
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, we can talk about it a bit more. But and I know Judith will be going, for God's sake, don't get too technical. I can just hear her. I can hear her in my head going, "You're going too technical." No, what you do is you create content, because creators are not organised people. So what you do is, we're not, are we? I mean, it's chaos, isn't it? Absolute bloody chaos. What you do is you focus on creating content whenever you feel like it. But you say to yourself, okay, I need to do at least 2 Facebook Live videos in a week. I'm doing a podcast. You think about the easiest, most fun ways for you to create content. And it might well be that you just sit down and 3 days a week you make a Facebook Live video, and that's the end of it. But that would then get downloaded, transcribed, uploaded to YouTube, SEO'd. Transcription would go into a folder so that it could be turned into a blog post. And perhaps the VA would take a still from the video as the picture. Do you know what I mean? You concentrate on the most easy way to create content. So you have a Google Drive folder with all your videos in. You have all they're on Facebook Live, so she knows where to go and get them. And then you have perhaps all the radio interviews you've ever done. You could get those transcribed and they could be turned into blog posts. You just think about. You make it easier for your VA to find the stuff. That's the biggest challenge of all. So you organise your storage of all the content, and then you give your VA a simple schedule of what to share on what day, always onto your blog, always onto your main. Make sure it goes onto your main hub of your marketing, wheel. I think of a blog as the middle of the cartwheel. And then you tell the VA, okay, so here's your sharing schedule. So once you've done the bit about getting the content onto the blog, on Tuesdays we're going to in the morning we're going to share an Instagram meme which draws from that blog post, and it's going to draw people back to that blog post. At lunchtime it's going to be a Snapchat where either you talking to Snapchat and you tell people about that blog post. So you stagger it and you make the content fit the platform. Yeah. And then on perhaps YouTube, the video gets uploaded to YouTube and you that goes out to your subscribers on YouTube. In the afternoon, someone creates a tweet with a picture, and they can perhaps use the Instagram meme again, because we all we know that tweets with pictures get more attention. And then in the late afternoon, something gets shared onto LinkedIn, because LinkedIn's a different picture size altogether, so the VA would need to make the picture in a different size.
I've got you. Yeah.
So it's two. There's three processes. There's one, you, the creator, creating content on the platform that you feel most comfortable, whether that's Facebook Live or whatever. Then there's the VA turning that content into something that could go on the blog. And then there's the VA sharing across all the platforms a piece of content, but in different formats depending on the platform it's going into.
I've got you. Yeah, makes sense.
And all you've got to think about is when I'm on this morning and I say, you can find me at sarahnewton.com, that someone goes there and they immediately see all your media stuff, so they're immediately reassured and they've got something to opt into and something to buy.
Yeah. That's really helpful. Really helpful. No, I love the idea of having these 3 questions and asking them to people that most people don't normally get access to.
Yeah, and if you say, can I ask you 3 questions, they'll immediately say yes, because they'll think that's only going to take a couple of minutes. But what it's doing, especially if you ask questions, like I'd be asking about, I don't know, you have to think about it, but you're creating future content.
Yeah.
And you can turn that content into memes, quotes, quotes on Instagram go absolutely bonkers. Little quotes on your Facebook page, and you're going to get great quotes from people when they're speaking spontaneously on the hoof like that.
Yeah, and if they know it's for young people, most people will do it.
Yeah, most people will say yes. Yeah, they love the thought. They love the thought of being inspirational for young people.
We do, yes. Massage their egos a little.
Exactly. Cool. Okay, so does that help, or was there anything else?
That does really help, actually, yeah, and sort of reinforces where my head was going with it. Yeah. So thank you.
But as a creator, you just need to focus on the fun bit for you, because if it's fun and fast and easy, you'll do it. If it's like with Facebook Live, if I go in the garden, there's no internet signal because it doesn't reach from the house. It's like, or if it's raining and I have to sit in the, do you know what I mean? Silly things stop you from creating content. So you have to be make it easy, fun, and effortless to do, or you won't do it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right. I'll tell you what I'll do. I've got my little schedule, so I will put the little schedule in the show notes. I'll send you.
Great idea, because I'm sure this is going to help everyone. Actually,
I'll send Judith a link to the schedule. Cool. Okay. What's your word of the week then?
I feel like I want two words, and I'm going to say marginal gain.
Oh, okay.
And it's all. Yeah, and it all comes from the Olympics. I adore the Olympics. I always have done, and I adore the cycling team. And they do so well. And I listen to every interview that they do. And the thing they all talk about is, marginal gains. Like, what can we do to give us a marginal gain? And I think in this world that we live in, we think everything has to be huge. Yeah. That everything we do has to be so big. And, what if we just got up every day and said, how can I make a marginal gain today? And I really like that, because we can all do that. We can all do something small that moves us forward.
Well, that's exactly what we've been talking about, isn't it? The thing of going on this morning or being on CNN Breakfast News and expecting it to make all the difference to our lives, our money, our fame, our whatever. And, kids expect that too, don't they? They expect to make one YouTube video and be an instant star. And you must. Do you remember that interview we did together where I've got to find that living link now. The interview we did together where we talked about YouTube, kids being famous, not knowing how to leverage it, and then other kids coming along. It's like Phoebe does a YouTube video and she expects, somewhere deep in her heart, she expects that one to be the one that makes all the difference. And we expect a TV interview to be the one that makes all the difference. Yeah. Whereas what you're talking about with marginal gains is if you just keep if I'd been putting a YouTube video up every single day for the last 10 years, 20 years even, I'd be like as famous as Gary Vaynerchuk. Because that's exactly what he did,
Marginal gains.
Yeah.
And there's a rower who wrote a book, isn't there? Like, will it make the boat go faster? And it's the same kind of principle. Like, is what I'm doing now going to make this boat go faster? And if it is, I should do it. So, I think we've got a lot to learn from the Olympians and this whole marginal gain, and not, and all they're ever racing against is themselves and the time they've set themselves. They don't care about anybody else.
That's so interesting. Yeah. Again, that's about not looking around and seeing what everyone else is doing, just becoming a bit better yourself. Talking of rowers, did you see the interview with the two Irish lads?
Oh my goodness!
Oh, they are so brilliant, aren't they? Another link I'll have to supply.
And I just adore them. The whole thing that I just still laugh about is podium pants.
I don't know what they're talking about there. What are they talking about with podium pants?
I don't know, because I've never seen a rower wearing podium pants, but they must have podium pants. I actually need to see them collecting their medals, because maybe then we'll know what
Perhaps
podium
they just
pants are.
Trousers.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, we get to wear podium pants.
The bit that cracked me up the most was when they said, "Oh, they're after shutting down. They must be talking about their local pub or something." They said, "Oh, they're after shutting down the McKinney's for the day. It's a shame we're here and we're missing it all." And I thought, the whole reason
we should be. And I'm eating a Nutella sandwich. And you think,
Nutella sandwich.
You've won an Olympic medal and you've eaten a Nutella sandwich. It was, if ever you wanted to look at someone who looked normal and was doing amazing things, it was them two,
Because they're so deadpan as well, weren't they? That was the best bit. They barely cracked a smile through the whole thing, but they were obviously thoroughly enjoying themselves.
We love them. They're like my heroes. Yeah.
And to be the first, is it the first Irish people to bring a medal home, or is it the first Irish rowers to bring a medal home?
I'm not sure.
Well, they were the first Irish something, weren't they?
Yeah. First of something, anyway. Yeah.
Brilliant, awesome. Anyway, we'll put a link to that video because it's just absolutely well worth watching. It's stunning. Marginal gains. Mine's recharge, because I feel like this week, as it's suddenly gone so quiet, it's a good opportunity to recharge my batteries. Because as you'll hear in project updates in a minute, I've been absolutely flat out the last couple of weeks. So I'm trying to remind myself to just take the time to, I went for lunch with a friend who I haven't seen for 15 years on Monday, and Tuesday I went to the gym with Phoebe, and I had a lovely leisurely swim in the sunshine and all that stuff. So I'm really trying to make myself enjoy the moment, although I see the sun's gone in, so today is not so much of that today.
I know, and it's tricky, those moments, isn't it? Those moments where you've got to sit in trust. I think that's what we have to learn most as entrepreneurs. Yeah,
because you feel like if you're not, if your legs aren't paddling under the water all the time, something horrible is going to happen.
Yes.
So, project updates then, go for it.
Oh, project updates. Oh my goodness. I'm redoing my website. That is, a long process, and I'm like desperate to get it out there because the pictures and the imagery are lovely, and it's like a website that I adore and really does the energy. So I'm doing that and trying desperately to get that done. I'm still writing, still working on about 3 or 4 books.
Oh my God, 3 or 4 at once.
I've got one that I'm working on, which is around Disney princesses, which is really interesting, but it's nearly finished, but I sometimes have to put them down a bit. We're working on the second novel, and we're also working on another novel after that one, which I've had to get some information because it's based around 2 girls that I know. So that's, constantly, in my arena, versus really looking actually at the moment about where I really want to be in 5 years, and then everything I do each day and how that links into that. So I can shift the business from working a lot one-on-one to doing more speaking and media stuff. And that's a huge sort of, project, because you've got to start looking at time, haven't you? Time and energy and money and how they all link together. So I'm kind of in one of those holding patterns, actually, a little bit, which is okay.
Yeah. So how do you allocate your time when, you're working on 3 books? Do you say, Monday mornings are for writing or Tuesday afternoons are for writing? I mean, how do you do that?
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I'd love to say I did that, but I tend to not do that. Because, and I think you as a creator, this, that you wake up and you want to create a certain something.
And
I do.
Persuade you from that.
Yeah, and sometimes you wake up and you're in a video mood. Sometimes I wake up and I really want to write. Sometimes I don't want to create at all. And when I have to force myself to particularly write books or create a video, if I'm not in the mood, the end result is yucky, just always horrid.
Yeah.
So what I've learned about myself is that generally I have to say, right, this is what I want done by the end of the month.
Yeah.
And this is what I hope to have achieved this week, but literally give myself the flexibility within there to go with where the energy is.
Yeah.
And now, obviously, I'm constantly working to deadlines in my head. And if it gets to, a week before the end of the month and I haven't done stuff, I'll have to push through it.
Yeah.
So it's got a structure to it. But I tend to have to get up and see how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
About what I want, which maybe isn't the right way. I've just learned that it's my way, because, if I create a video when I'm not in the mood, it will take me 5 times longer.
Yeah, and it'll come out with some sort of flatness about it, won't it? About you don't project as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and then one day I'll just get up and I'll put the laptop on and go, right, I'm just going to do them, and I'll run through them. It'll take half an hour. So it's about, I think, using your energy in the best way and knowing yourself. So I have the monthly things I want to do, and I'm always working towards deadlines in my head, but I allow myself the flexibility to go with, whatever's happening. Like today, I'm really tired after the day I had yesterday, so I probably won't do an awful lot.
Yeah.
And I've just learned that I have to kind of go with the flow of energy, because energy, I think, is the biggest resource we have, and we really have to protect it and use it.
Yeah. I think I tend to, when I'm feeling like you, or I've had a burst of creative energy, and now I'm not feeling so driven to create something. That's when I tidy up. So that's when I'll be putting stuff into Google folders and thinking just tidying up, generally making space, clearing things out. That helps. There's a fantastic book about creativity. I don't know if you've ever read it, called Orbiting the Giant Hairball.
Oh no, I've not heard of that one.
It's a beautiful little book. It's got lots of squiggly drawings in the margins and things. So it's been written by a creative, and it's written by a guy who is head of talent and creativity at Hallmark Cards, and it's all about how to, because creative people within a corporate environment do not do well. They don't fare very well. They don't perform very well. They don't feel nurtured or looked after in the way that you need to be able to create. So his job as a head, a creative person himself, who suddenly became very successful within this company, was all about how to nurture and create an environment that would support other creators, because Hallmark Cards, obviously, they have to come up with ideas for cards all the time. So it's a lovely little book. It's a great book to read if you're a creator, or it's a great book to read if you work with creators, or if you're responsible for getting the best out of creators. And it's called Orbiting the Giant Hairball.
And there's that other book, isn't there? I can't remember the title of it, but it's written by the bloke that started Pixar.
Oh, okay.
Have you read that one?
No, don't know that one.
Oh.
Judith will be going, oh, for God's sake, you two, stop it. I'm going to have to track all this stuff down now.
Yeah, it's an amazing book. I'll have a look after and then send you the link. I think it's called Creative, or I can't remember exactly, but it's really, really, because he talks about how they work at Pixar and how they create these teams to nurture ideas, and they don't give them to other people until they're fully formed. Brilliant book about creatives.
Oh, I'd love to read that.
And, about Buzz Lightyear and things like that. It's just...
Send Judith a link as well if you can.
Yeah.
Right. And anything else on the project updates you'd like to share?
No, I think that's it. I'm kind of gearing up for September. I always feel like September is a new starting point, probably because it's when the new school year starts, and I'm very used to working in school years because of what I do. So I always think, right, September is a new year for me.
Yeah, I love that September feeling. New year, new notebook.
Yeah. Oh well. Yeah. I'm sat here with a whole box full of notebooks. Let's not talk about notebooks.
You're a notebook fetishist, are you?
Yeah, totally.
Well, here's something interesting, and you're actually one of the person I want to talk to about it, because I'd like to do a collaboration on it with you. I can't think of anyone better, and I'll tell you what it is. Right. So 2 weeks ago, Jacqueline Rogers was on this show, and in the project update section, she talked about rewriting The Science of Getting Rich for women, because she's got obviously a fantastic ladies network called Athena Network, which is one of the biggest business networking for women in the UK. And I thought, I haven't read that I read that back in 1999, so I went and dug it out, and I thought I read it through, and the first time I read it through back about 13 years ago, something like that, didn't really get it. Archaic language. lots of references to God, which put me off. He talks about this formless stuff, which may always make me think of like clear jelly. So I had this sort of weird visual imagery going on in my head when I was trying to read it. And I just thought, oh, this is just, I'm not getting it. So, but it was the forerunner of Think and Grow Rich and The Secret. So it was the book that came before those two. So I dug it out, and I'm not joking. I read it in a morning. It was absolutely gripping this time round. And the reason it was gripping was because it actually, every single word of it, apart from the God stuff, it is true. And I'm offending all our readers here who are devout. I'm sorry about that. I'm an atheist. I had a bit of an amazing, mind-blowing day reading this book and just thinking about all this stuff. Anyway, so I then thought, oh my God, this is so brilliant. I would love my kids to read this, but they're never going to do it because of the way it's written and all that stuff. So I thought, and I also thought, all of the clients I work with who are struggling to get an online business going for whatever reason, and the whatever reason is never about the tech, and it's never about the how to, it's never about the what to do, it's never about which tool to use, it's always about what's going on in their head. So I just thought, I would really love to rewrite this myself for my audience and really strip out all the archaic language and really make it, good. So I contacted Jackie and I said, how would you feel if I did this? Because obviously, she's just about to deliver her book to the publishers. So she's way ahead of me. It's a different market entirely. And I just wondered if she'd mind. And she said, of course, wonderful, wonderful person. She came back and she said, look, there's a chapter in the book about collaboration, not competition. So I don't see it as competition. I see it as, we would both be promoting two different versions of the book. We'd be going out to different marketplaces. I offered to help her with her marketing as well. So she said, go for it. So I have spent the last, I'm not joking, week, head down from last Friday, I think it was, I spoke to her, rewriting The Science of Getting Rich for,
oh my goodness,
for the internet age.
Yeah.
So really putting, references to people that people would have heard of into it, quotes from people who are, doing well online, changing whole paragraphs because the language is too old-fashioned, taking out any references to God. And the reason I was able to do this so fast, I think, it's one of those things where everything comes together in one, like thunderclap. I watched Professor Brian Cox on television. Have you seen him?
Yes.
The Forces of Nature series. If you haven't seen the Forces of Nature series, go and watch it. It's about 5 or 6 programs, and he's talking about quantum physics. And as I was reading The Science of Getting Rich, I thought if you just substituted that word for that and that word for that, you'd be talking about quantum physics. And we know that quantum physics exists because all the scientists are telling us so. So I've rewritten The Science of Getting Rich for the internet age and atheists, basically. And what I'd love to do next, because I still know that my kids won't read it, is I'd love to create a version for teens.
That would be amazing.
Because
no one's done this quite well. They did The Secret for teens, and they've done a few others, but they were just. I read them and they just didn't get it. The languaging was
still
not right. Still.
So what I thought was, who's the woman to collaborate with on this? And she's going to be on the show this week.
I love this idea. They need to, and actually the generation that we've got coming up now, the ones that are the youngest at the ages of 15 or 16, they are the most emotionally intelligent generation we've ever seen.
Yeah, I know.
They are incredible, but full of disorders too. So,
because they've been raised with parents who've been screwed up. Yeah. My son's a bit like the Dalai Lama and some sort of guru thrown into one. He comes out with these pronouncements, and you think, how does he know this stuff? Anyway, so not urgent, Sarah, given your current situation, but that I have secured the URL, so we're safe. We can relax a bit.
Is it out of copyright then? Is it?
Yes, yes, it is.
Everything okay?
Yeah, and Jackie Rogers is doing The Science of Getting Rich for women. I've done The Science of Getting Rich online, and I've secured The Science of Getting Rich for teens. So there's only one woman I want to work on with this, and I've done most of the hard work turning the language into 21st century, but we can definitely go through it because I still know it's not simple enough for my teens to read.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be the job. It's simplification and stripping away, rather than and putting in quotes and references to people they can relate to.
Like I love this idea.
Love
it.
Kanye West and all that, people like that. Right. So that's good. So I've just put another project onto your project.
That's okay. I love projects.
Good. So what's impressed this week then?
I've just got to say, all Olympians. I know I've been going on about the Olympics a bit, but I sit there and watch it and watch how when they're close to the finish line, they speed up to make sure they get the win.
Oh.
And I've started jogging. I hate jogging, but I've started jogging. It's getting a little bit easier. And when it gets really difficult, I sit there going, oh my, just keep going. If the Olympians can do it, you can. And I started to use that a lot when I'm up against anything difficult. And it's really helped me, to think about how much pain they must be in when they're approaching the finish line, that they manage to speed up. So that's what's impressed me. And actually, that's what's inspiring me to keep going on, I think.
Yeah. And again, it comes back to the thing about only measuring yourself against yourself and just trying to have marginal gains every time you go. I mean, do you know Sue O'Kell? She's going out every Saturday and trying to run around the park with a bunch of people. And every single week she reports on Facebook that she's getting a tiny bit better. She, is a tiny bit easier.
I'm doing that couch to 5K, and I remember when I started it, I'm now in about week 4, and you've got to run for 60 minutes. It was a nightmare, but now I can run for 5 minutes, kind of okay. And I'm like, actually, I like the way this is working. Yeah, marginal gains, but at the difficult times, remembering, if the Olympic athlete can do it, so can I.
Yeah. Well, I'm very impressed. Well done. Whereas mine is completely sedentary.
That's okay.
It's called grum.co. Grum? Yeah, grum.co. It's for people who want to create Instagram posts, but on their laptop or desktop. So you know how we've always had to do Instagram on the phone, and I don't know about you, even with an iPhone 6, I'm struggling to see it that well, to be honest. So this allows you to create your Instagram post on a desktop or a laptop, and it allows you, even better, it's the only thing that does so far, to schedule your Instagram posts in advance. Whereas Hootsuite and Buffer will let you create your Instagram posts, and they will remind you that you when you need to post, and they will pull that post that you pre-created into your I don't know how it does it really, but just so you can post it. But you still have to post manually, whereas grum.co is allowing you to pre-schedule your posts and to create them on desktop or laptops.
I love this, because my challenge is always writing with the Instagram post.
Oh, tell me about it. Yes, that's the most painful bit. And copying and pasting the tags. You can have 30 tags and you should use them all. But because you have to put the picture up first with one tag, and then you have to go and put all your other tags in the comments. And so you have to have them on notes and ready to copy and paste. But it's so much easier on the desktop. I can't tell you.
Oh, I love this. This is going to change my life. Yeah.
It is, yeah. I don't know how they're doing this thing with the pre-scheduling, but whether they're working with Instagram or not, I don't know. But anyway, it's there. It's available. It's working right now. So go and take it.
Oh, yeah, because the Hootsuite one's a real pain, isn't it? Because it reminds you to and you're just like, oh.
Yeah, I can't do Hootsuite at all. I find the interface completely unintuitive. I don't like it. It's ugly, and I won't do it.
I think I've been using it for so long now. Anything else looks weird. But
no, it is what you get used to. Okay, we're done. That was awesome, and I think we're under the hour. We may just be 1 minute over, but by the time I've finished editing, we won't be.
No. Sorry, Judy.
Thank you very much, Sarah Newton, for joining me today. And if you're listening to this in the future and you want to go and check Sarah out, I'm sure it's going to be sarahnewton.com.
Yeah, or the youthexpert.com will get you there too.
Youth Expert. What about teenologist? You need that one.
Yeah, I think I had that and then got rid of it. I don't know. I'll have to go and look at my GoDaddy list of many, many domains.
We're on a mission to let them all expire now, the ones we're not using. So that's something you can tidy up while you're in a down creative patch.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you not get that sense of loss though when you?
Yeah. Thank you very much, Sarah.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.